Hi everybody, Adora here from Adora's Ramblings, here to tell you a story. So how about you grab yourself a cup of coffee, have a comfortable sit down, and we're gonna have a chit chat about one of the first documented witchcraft burnings. I say first one, but in my research I found there was another one. We'll do her another time, but for this time we're going to be talking about the story of what I could gather of Petronilla de Meath. Nearly nothing is known about Petronilla de Meath except that she was the first woman to be burned at the stake as a witch in Kilkenny, Ireland on November 3rd, 1324. It is not known who her parents were or what her surname she had, because de Meath only meant of Meath. So therefore Petronilla was born of Meath around 1300. Exactly what her date of birth is, we're not exactly sure. I couldn't find anything anyway. At the time of her tragic death, Petronilla was a maidservant and confidant for a Lady Alice Cateller, a 14th century Hibernian Norman noblewoman. Unfortunately, I can't tell the story of Petronilla without telling the story of Alice. Because honestly, what happened to Petronilla wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for her relationship with Lady Alice, who wasn't really much of a lady to begin with. So the Catellers were a family of Flemish merchants who had settled in Kilkenny, probably in the area known as Flemingstown, sometime during the mid-13th century. In 1280, at the age of 17, Alice Cateller married a gentleman by the name of William Outlaw, a wealthy Kilkenny merchant and moneylender. Together they had a son who they called William, so we had William Jr. William Sr., he passed in 1285. In 1302, Alice married her second husband, Adam Leblond of Callan, another moneylender, another wealthy gentleman. These two were briefly suspected of killing off William Sr., but nothing came of it other than it being a talk of mouth and so forth. So no proof was given, so it was just gossip. In 1307, Adam Leblond gave all of his possessions to his stepson, William Outlaw. Pretty much he said, you know what, everything heired, willed, whatever you want to call it, off to William. Surprisingly, Adam passed in 1307. 1309, Alice marries her third husband, Richard de Meath, a wealthy Tipperary landowner. He passed in 1316. Again, her son William benefited financially from the marriage. Another heir. And 1316 was a busy time for Lady Alice, as she was widowed, took her stepson to court, and also got married. Very busy here. When Richard de Meath Sr. died, Alice took her stepson Richard Jr. to court for withholding her widow's dowry. Wow. And then in that time, she also marries her fourth husband, the Knight Sir John Lepoe. I apologize if anybody knows how to say this properly, or if I'm saying it wrong, let me know in the comments below. Just before Sir John's death in 1324, he explicitly accused Alice of poisoning him to Bishop of Ossory, Richard le Dread. Now, Richard le Dread was committed to the church and the word of the church. That is thought that he insane was a good word for it. Yeah, he was so committed to the word of the Lord and the word of the church, and he just kind of went over to the extreme. So after the confession from Sir John, the bishop was on a witch hunt. As most of Alice's husbands had children of their own, these children were pretty upset that everything that should have went to them went to her son, William Jr. So they brought their complaint to the bishop, Richard le Dread, as well And a single-minded churchman, as Richard was, he was anxious to defend the liberties and jurisdiction of the church. He just jumped on that with, off you go. He's ready. He's charging. The main charge that was brought up against Alice was maleficium, and in other words, it was witchcraft. Normally, this would have been treated as fairly a commonplace accusation, and one usually treated by English law as a petty offense. So, nothing like a pickpocket, or, it just was minor. Some of the charges that were brought up against Alice were denying Christ and the church, cutting up living animals and scattering the pieces across the crossroads for offerings to their demon concubines. There were claims that Alice broke into the church and to hold satanic meetings on sacred ground. Alice, sensing that everything was coming in, the walls were closing in around her, decided to skip town. She fled from Dublin altogether and was gone. There was some gossip, or things, I should say, things that I have read that said it was gossip, that Petronilla had a son or a daughter. There was Basil in there, and I think the other name was Basilina. Alice had taken Petronilla's daughter or son with her when she fled as per Petronilla's request. Other than gossip or that's all that is. The bishop decided that exemplary punishment was necessary, and he condemned poor Petronilla. She was tortured without mercy, publicly flogged along a path that ran through 6 parishes. At the end of it all, poor servant, who could no longer take the pain, confessed to everything the bishop could think of. The bishop just spewed things at her, and she just confessed and confessed. Some of the things that were confessed, that her and other witches had used the skull of a robber as a cauldron and cup, and in this skull they placed the intestines and internal organs of roosters and worms, nail cuttings from dead bodies, hairs from the buttocks, and clothes from poor boys who had died before they were baptized. And from this brew created potions to incite people to love, hate, kill, and afflict Christians of all sorts of things. Yeah, bibbidi bobbidi boo, right? And that Alice herself had a certain demon as incubus by whom she permitted herself to be known carnally. Supposedly he appeared to her either as a cat or a shaggy black dog or a black man, and that Alice had used sorcery to murder some of her husbands and to infatuate others, with the result that they gave all their possessions to her and her son William. These supposed confessions were added to the long list of charges that were brought up against Alice. Ledred never explained why Petronilla alone suffered the punishment that she got. It was like she had done all these things, not Lady Alice. But unfortunately, Petronilla was the one that had to be the one that he was trying to prove a point on. Everybody else that were arrested at that time were let off after payment of securities. So I guess everything they owned was given to the church, as was known back then. The only thing that shows of what happened with Petronilla was a article in the Kilkenny Franciscan Chronicler. I apologize, my pronunciations of words have kind of slur in every now and then. I'm trying to get better. The Kilkenny Franciscan Chronicler, author John Klein, Petronilla de Meath was condemned for sorcery, lot-taking, and offering sacrifice to demons, consigned to the flames and burned. It's a sad story. Unfortunately, it was one that was common, and more horrors were to come, unfortunately. I am hoping to give you all a mini docu-series on different witches of our past so that they can be remembered. We don't want them forgotten. So yeah, so this is Adora signing off. I hope you like the story of Petronilla de Meath. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. If you like and want to hear what's to come, subscribe to my channel and click that little bell icon there to stay notified of when I upload a video. If there's anything of the information or any information that I have given, or believe me, this is just what I have found and gathered up on my own, if you have any information, comment below, let me know. Let's have a conversation about all this, shall we? Let's be good, let's be kind. All right, so everybody, you have yourselves a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sure there was a lot more I could have put in here, like there really was. I'm just trying to keep it so that everybody stays interested, and hopefully you'll look into this yourself. Yeah, and like I said, if you find anything else that I haven't mentioned, let me know. I'd like to keep my file updated, and maybe I'll do an updated video on the poor story of Petronilla de Meath. All right, you have a good day. Bye-bye now.